one of the things that I've learned in my work is that the mind's only job is self-preservation of the physical, right? So we're creating an identity around our mental input about what is physical, real, tangible, feelable, and that's its only purpose. Everything else is soul. How to understand emotion, how to understand memories, how to work with people, how to step outside of the self-preservation, how to evolve and integrate, how to pull in information we weren't given, how to pull down information from source, how to create new things and establish new paradigms and solve problems. That's outside of the mind. The mind is actually very, very limited. And if we're not careful, we let that control us.
Welcome to the Consciousness of the Way. I am your humble servant and Sifu, Taoist Master San Quinn, and I have an incredible guest here to the podcast today. And in what I would find in definition an amazing, she's going to put title to it, but she's an incredibly gifted individual that gives people insight and healing in all ways, shapes, and forms in her own masterful way of opening up consciousness. Jessenia, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited.
I'm so excited. And so the Soul Architect is your alias.
No. Kind of, yeah. Spirit gave me that title. There's not much I do without spiritual guidance. And they gave me the title because they said, it's impossible to explain what you really do with someone's energy, but what you're doing is reminding them of themselves or their soul. So it's like reprogramming the soul into the physical body, right? Through a series of remembering, reconnection, and familiarity. So it's like the reconstruction of the soul here in the physical, so we can merge the two. So they created this term, and I was like, love it, got it, gonna do it.
And I mean, and it's so you're such a beautiful beam of. We can define it as many things, but I mean, the amount of energy that I'm freeloading from right now is sort of second to none. I'm very excited, getting a nice little juiced up buzz. So if I was to define it to the audience, I'm getting like supercharged level of like standing over like a fire hydrant that also is a combination of a hairdryer. So I'm enjoying this. I'm having a lot of fun with it. And, this is really an organic, intuitive, because I think briefly we spoke over Instagram, and you had mentioned that you had learnt organically all your things from spirit. So I would love to hear more about that. I mean, I would say in definition, my journey has been very similar, even though I've been given the tools of a structured sort of practice that is thousands of years old. That doesn't really mean much because spirit is infinite and in definition, all time and all things. So it's like I kind of stumbled into my realization that I use these tools, but in essence, the first thing that I toppled over from a metaphysical, energetic, spiritual level was channeling. And so everything else just fell into place, which a lot of people tend to move away from because they're afraid. There's a construct of fear that goes around this idea that you're a container or you're this vessel for all these, scary entities. Well, in definition, what I would say is that is limited to your perception of your reality, and you can take charge of that instantaneously. But I'm going to say no more because I want to hear everything about you and how you discovered this, because it's so organic. There's very few people that I've come across over the last 30 years of my natural born life doing this stuff. Forget about past lives, but you are just flowing, my friend, and I greatly appreciate having someone that I can also share with at this type of level, because there are a lot of people that sort of get themselves put into a space, and then they reach around and there's all these Hollywood titles, and they grab them and they go, I'm this, I'm a Reiki healer, I'm a psychic, I'm a medium, I'm a this, I'm a that. And they get a glimpse of what their potential is, and then they shut the rest off because they're unable to develop the skill.
Yeah, I say that all the time, that if we knew how many gifts were available to us, we would not be comfortable with just one title. Because, one of my things is I also read gifts in people, and I have been fascinated with part of what I've been learning. I mean, first of all, nobody just has one gift. And if you are with a healer or a teacher who isn't evolving and getting better every day, then they're somehow disconnected from their true self or nature, because spirit is limitless. So the person you are trusting to be your advisor should be in a constant state of evolution and growth, or they're not properly advising, they're teaching limitation, right? And at some point in time, you should outgrow them, because the job or responsibility is to grow. And one of my favorite things Spirit just told me that kind of like, shook me to my core is that nobody really is a master, because the second you claim mastery, you stop growth. You stop challenging yourself, you stop evolving, you start questioning. And I definitely don't want that. So I'm never going to go into that place of like claiming mastery of this experience. But also that if we think about the history of Earth, right, gifts have not openly been accepted across Earth for a very long time, especially if you were female. Like we couldn't even channel spirit back. We would get hung, we'd get burned, we'd get ostracized, we'd be demonized. So we have really the first time in most of history where we're able to fully express our connection, not only interdimensionally, but globally because of the internet, in this reality without limitation. And what we are going to see, we can't even predict what we're going to see, because we haven't seen that physically grounded on Earth yet, right? We haven't seen people come to their power or their evolution or see all the gifts kind of present. And I'm really excited for that chapter. I'm really excited to see where everybody goes and how deep we can get and how powerful we can get here in this experience.
Yeah, I mean, what a profound insight from your spirit that's giving you this realization. I mean, for me, when I use, for example, Taoist master, I use it in title because that's what's given to me, being a lineage holder in two lineages of Taoism. So
Right.
I'm a 66 generation lineage holder in one, and 126 generation lineage holder in another, and so that's sort of the title. And what happens is it opens the doorway. But in essence, what Tao is, in definition, is effortless action, what we call Wu Wei. And so that's the flow that Bruce Lee goes, be like water, my friend, flow like water. And,
Right.
what a great entree, because Bruce Lee was kind of like using consciousness, the word consciousness, back in the 70s before he passed away. And it was like, people are like, what is that? Even today, a lot of people are like, what is consciousness? I'm not exactly sure what that is. It sounds kind of woo-woo to me.
Right. And I want to make a correction there, because that's a really important distinction. Obviously, if you spend time getting to know a physical modality that you have invested generations in, you become a master of that modality, and that's totally different. What I'm claiming is that we should not claim to be a master of our gift, because there's no limit
Yes.
to spirit, right? So it's different than like I can graduate college and be a master of that class. I mean, I've graduated, I've mastered the class, I've mastered the skill in that world, so I can master a skill. But our gifts are really truly limitless. And the second we start believing in that kind of mastery of an ability that we haven't even seen the full potential of, we start kind of closing down our ability to receive or grow. So it's definitely, that's a great distinction to make, because it's different. I
Oh
live
no.
sometimes so much in my spiritual that I forget we have physical things. So I
Well,
was
yeah.
thinking, the human side, the human side.
Well, I live like that. It's like, so, I'll go into Home Depot, and the first thing I do is I look at all the auras of the shopping carts. And my family's used to it. They're like, Dad, which cart do you want to get? Well, the one that has the least juju on it for today, I'll blast it, and then we'll pick the right person to move from through Home Depot out past the checkout aisle. But you want to be able to immerse yourself in your reality, because everything is energy. So on a much deeper level, you're realizing this. So it's like, navigate this space, right? And, you know, the beautiful part is when we're aligning like we are now, and you're getting a supercharge of energy, I'm getting a supercharge of energy. That's powerful stuff. I love that. And watching it percolate in your aura, your physical body, and my own, it's an amazing thing. This is what happens when you connect and you realign yourself. And I would attest to what you're saying. The one of the biggest things for Taoism is the teacher is the student is the teacher, and you never forget that. That's the beginning and ending of things. Now, I always take the position initially as Mr. Miyagi, but I'm Daniel-san and Mr. Miyagi all in one, and that's a continual sort of like coming back to the beginning and expanding again, full expansion, wider, 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 wider. And this is a profound thing, because organically, when I referred back to the channeling, the first time I channeled Lao Tzu, that was the beginning and end from my realization. I tend to find, and I'm sure you probably say something similar, when people, they're information seekers. They want to take in all this. I've got this, and I could do this, and I do this breath work, and this energetic healing, and this and this and this. And then I'm like, okay, show me. And they're like, no, I'm a show me guy. When I mean show me, I mean I want to see a healing. I want to see my head blown off. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you some juice right now that's going to make you realize that this is not a figment of your imagination. We're not talking metaphorically. We're talking metaphysically. It's happening right now. And so that's where people are like, oh, you're starting to freak me out a little bit. So you and I have a very similar like frequency, in the sense that people will love us or hate us. They come to us or they run for the hills because they can't handle the frequency, the signature, because it's real. It's going on. It's like, I'm identifying with a lot of stuff that's coming in that I don't know. I don't want to do that. It's like, who is it? I love this. I always use the word Joe Dispenza, because he's like, no one wants to go and strike a match in a dark place. And I'm like, okay, Joe, right on, buddy. You know, and you expand with that level, and you're like, okay. And so you, if you're even slightly energetic, can be in a room with you and go, holy moly, there's a lot going on in here. There is some serious juice up in here, and I need to get ready for what I'm about to receive, because at that level of frequency, you're going to move things on a physical level that is going to blow people's minds. And, you know, that's the whole point. I'm just saying. Anyway, I'll be quiet, because I'm podcasting you, not me.
No, okay. I love it. I love it. It's all valuable information. I do find, so I think generally speaking, by nature, humans definitely fear what they don't understand. Mm-hmm. And a lot of us are taught to repress our shadow, our emotions, our feelings, our thoughts. And a lot of people, if they're not ready to face that, do get scared that I can understand that or dig into that or see, you know, trauma and repressed memories and repressed belief systems and things they didn't want to face or have been repressing all along. But I do also find that when people are ready for me, they come to me, and that anything I surface is exactly what they kind of needed to hear and see, and we're ready to embrace at that moment in time, especially when they have the support of me and my team. So I do get the fear, right? Because it's like, she knows too much, right? She can feel all this. She can dig deep into my soul, but there's also the release in that. And I would say that's one of the most powerful healing tools, is that you have to hide nothing with me. There is nothing I can't handle, and there's nothing that's going to make me scared. I've seen it all, you know, and I'm not afraid of those things. I'll dive deep in that shadow with you, and I'll experience it with you, and I'll help you fight it, because I'm not afraid, right?
I love it. It's a fearlessness, but that comes from a knowing.
Right.
And that's something,
personal experience.
Well, it comes from past lives. I mean, we could go into, I want to go into, at some point, I want you and I to spend some time together when you have time, because I understand my wife and I, we're working with 5 or 6 kids. You personally have a horde yourself. So I'm very appreciative and grateful for the time that you share with me, but I would love to spend some time with you, because it's like, it's sort of like understanding that, this is all, when I started this stuff from the beginning, I went straight into exorcisms, clearings, all that kind of stuff. And a lot of my peers that were in the training, they're like, you're messing with stuff that's going to, but I never had fear because I'm operating on the past 10, 20 lives, because I'm a reincarnation of Taoist priest for many lifetimes and other immortal frequency spirits, energies. So it's like, okay, why would I fear myself?
Right.
If you are me and I am you and the universe is one, if you truly believe in that consciousness, what are you afraid of?
Well, I always say, don't put your fear on me. It's okay for you to be fearful, but it doesn't mean you have to push that fear on me. But I've also learned, training gifts and stuff that, so a couple of things. I get a lot of people that come to me like, how can I protect myself better? How can I defend myself better? How can I not be possessed or intruded on? And here's like the most powerful thing that I've learned. And you're saying the same thing in your own way. And it's just that if we believe it's true, it's true. Right?
Yeah.
If I believe I'm unworthy, it's true. Then I'm going to find a million ways in this universe in which I show up in an unworthy way, in which people receive me that way. And I'm going to keep facing that pattern over and over and over and over again, because the universe isn't limited. Our belief systems are limited based on trauma or experience or negativity. So if I believe it's true, it's true. I need to figure out why it's true, and then I need to correct that, right? And that's what I do with people is I go deep into the soul, the past lives, the themes, and I help them correct and realign that and open back up to that abundant, powerful, unlimited nature in which we all have the ability to kind of tap into. But I've noticed that, yes, you go into the belief system of, I can be controlled, I can be limited, I can be possessed, I can be taken over, then you create the door for it. But why is it true for you? That's the key I found. Like, let's go heal that version of you. Let's pull them out of the shadow. Let's bring peace to that, right?
Yeah.
And then we're not stuck in that anymore.
Oh, no. I mean, that's a beautiful thing. I always remind people, and this is where you get a lot of people on social media unhinged, because they want to control people's perception. And I'll go, your truth is the only truth you need to be concerned with. And they're like, this is the problem with social media. People can just say things. You're like telling people they can think whatever they want. Yeah. They can believe whatever they want. Yeah. That's scary. I can't believe that. There's a right and wrong. No, there's a perception of your reality that you have identified with right and wrong. Within Taoism, there's a yin and yang. There's polarizing opposites, but ultimately, in essence, when you emerge everything as one, you are as one. So you move past the yin and yang experience to being Wu Ji, which is the stillness, which is all things. Now, that is it can be a journey. And I always tell people, you listen to what I'm saying. If you go and sit in my podcast, you listen to what I'm saying, you can realize what I've realized in this lifetime and 100 before that, like this. That means you can be accessing the juice. You can be accessing all things. All the things that I share with you right now can be yours. It's this far away. And people are like, oh, my goodness, wow. I'm sure you have a similar message.
Right. Well, I asked Spirit this one time, and it blew my mind because it made me realize how powerful our mind can be. And one of the things that I've learned in my work is that the mind's only job is self-preservation of the physical, right? So we're creating an identity around our mental input about what is physical, real, tangible, feelable, and that's its only purpose. Everything else is soul. How to understand emotion, how to understand memories, how to work with people, how to step outside of the self-preservation, how to evolve and integrate, how to pull in information we weren't given, how to pull down information from source, how to create new things and establish new paradigms and solve problems. That's outside of the mind. The mind is actually very, very limited. And if we're not careful, we let that control us, right? So that's the beauty of the integration, is we have to be able to pull in new things and also understand the mind has limitations and work with those limitations to kind of break through them. And like Spirit says, shatter the self-preserving mind, making it conscious or hyper-conscious, which is the interconnectedness, right? That's like, we're on the same vibration, we're on the same plane, we're in the same field. My mind is only processing my physical survival, and that's its only job, right? So, and one of the things they told me, which kind of like stopped me, and this was, years ago, is they said that the mind can only take in what it's able to receive. And I asked, I have gifts. I'm here. I can teach people. I can teach people their power, their gifts, their past lives. And I was like, why don't people listen? And they said, because they can only take in what they're ready to hear. They can only take in what they're ready to understand. We've sent people like you, even yourself, to Earth since the beginning of time. But it doesn't mean people trust it. It doesn't mean people could understand it. It doesn't mean they could take it in. And a lot of humans like to feel victimized by the Earth experience. They think like, oh, we were just thrown here without guides, without information, without intuition. We're here to suffer. We're here to live miserable lives. And it's like, no, we've always had answers, but you were untrusting and didn't listen and didn't tap in or couldn't understand. That's different than we're here to be punished and live miserable lives. It's a very different story. But if you believe it to be true, you're going to keep finding it in your reality.
Your truth is the only truth you need to be concerned with. And I mean, that in of itself is so powerful, because the truth is, I mean, on not a shameless plug, but I did that on Kelly's podcast. I do have an app that does exactly that. I don't know whether you ever looked at it, but that's what this does. So people are like, that's ridiculous. You can't do that. You got to spend 70 years working on a somatic release, and you've got a Kundalini experience that's going to run up your spine and open your pineal gland and blah, 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 blah. Sorry. Unfortunately, that's not how it works. When you step into this awareness, the energetic portal opens. This is not just, this is not from the physical body. What right. they're lied to. That's the fallacy. They're lied that, oh, this is how it's obtained. Well, this is a realm of man roadmap that is only limited by what you're perceiving as your reality right now. And that's the beginning and end of it. That's my journey. That's what I experience. That's what I teach people. But I would love to hear what you think.
Well, I mean, I think that it might have been true in past life experiences, right? Like that we were so traumatized and so much in our own survival that gifts and common knowledge or information was scarce. And there is the density of Earth. There's a lot of reasons we have disconnection from our gifts. There's a lot of reasons we have disconnections from our soul and higher self. But the whole purpose of this particular life is opening a gateway for the spiritual revolution on Earth. And everybody's here for that. So everybody has that ability. Everybody has that potential. I fully believe that everybody has gifts, and I work to help people uncover them and then train them. And
right.
I've not met anybody who wasn't gifted yet. And I think that it's easy to live in like that ego that a lot of other spiritual healers in the past have lived in, where they have kind of claimed, title of guru or cult leader, whatever it is, but it was like, it's my truth, my only truth, and I will force that truth onto the people, and the people must worship me. We're moving out of that paradigm completely. We are all activating our gifts, our conscious awareness, our integration. And that's why tools like that exist, because it's perfectly necessary in this life. And we've been given the permission to do that. And in fact, we're here for it. So absolutely, it's possible today. And that's the whole purpose of people like us, and like, I've never met somebody in this world that didn't know that we were preparing for something greater, right? Like they know we're here to do the work. We have to be brave. We have to step out. We have to be courageous. We have to educate. I think it's really common knowledge at this point. I find that meeting people who aren't aware that there's something greater beyond the physical is rarer to me right now. And I have nothing but compassion for it. I really just think I truly just can't imagine an experience where I believe that this reality is the only reality. And I believe that my brain is the only right brain. And I believe that my thoughts are the only true thoughts. I just cannot imagine a reality like that. And for me, I feel compassion for people who do, because I feel like that must be the greatest cage to live in, right? That must be the greatest torment, because there's so much beauty in learning or knowing ourselves. There's so much beauty in knowing other people with that depth. There's so much love in that interconnectedness and that understanding and that helping people and being present for one another at those depths that I would never give any of that back. I feel like, it's not even like a thing of fear anymore. Being out here in social media and stuff, it can always be tricky, because you're going to have people who, like you said, want to like interject or project or almost like put fear in your mind or your soul about your work or your mission. And I just find nothing but compassion these days about the experience. Like, I remember when I first started, I had a couple followers. It used to like terrify me. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to upset somebody. And Spirit said to me one day, and I love this, they said, you know, and it's really Einstein's law or Newton's law of energy. I think it's, to some degree, it's in science, and it's just like energy cannot be shifted without equal or opposite force, right? So when we're talking about creating friction, when we're talking about making change, we have to give equal opposite force, which means if I'm not ruffling feathers, I'm not doing my job. If I'm not really challenging the way people think, then I'm not doing my job. If I'm not shattering people's minds around their constructs and limiting beliefs, then I'm not doing my job. I'm here to do that. I'm a channel, and I'm here to deliver a message that might be difficult at first, but in the end, it liberates. In the end, it releases, right? So it has to be equal opposite. And that means that people will be ruffled, and that's okay. We're shaking things up and we're rebuilding, right? I'm not here to just comply to what has always been done, or I wouldn't be bringing any value. There's no value
Yeah.
in repeating what's already been done, right? Somebody
Yeah.
else has already done that.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, what a powerful insight. But I mean, that's that realization. It's just like when we were just talking about how people get a little apprehensive around you. They don't want you to see their stuff. I mean, that seems to be a theme. For me, I did a skit initially at social media. You find your ground, right? So you're like, okay, well, what am I going to do that's going to get a little traction? I need to share with people. So I'm here in Las Vegas. I'm in Nevada. So I went down to the Strip. I started just doing readings on people, like street readings. Whoa! And so just randomly people, and I've been doing this for decades. It is what it is. But it's like I want to do I just put down free readings. And they're like, oh, cool. Oh, yeah. And they're thinking, oh, you're going to sit down with a crystal ball. And I'm like, now I'm just going to run through your aura. I'm going to look at your excess and deficiencies of your organs, which will give me more of an insight into your mental, emotional state. Then I'm just going to hand it back to you. And they're like, sure you are. And then when you do it, and I put this up, I put a couple up on YouTube. I do this all the time. And initially, everyone gets excited. They're like, sure, yeah, tell me. And then when I get a little deeper, and I'm like, do you still want me to keep going? And I'll start unlayering things. And it's on a recording, and it's there. It's like, and they're like, yeah, go ahead. And then when it gets down to certain energy centers and there's excess and deficiency, whether it is, a sexual drive or a mental emotional state or a trauma that's happened when they were younger, and then they're like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, I just wanted to help people. And then afterwards, then the anger sets in. Then they feel like they've been deceived. Then they feel like, hang on a second, I didn't think you were going to actually be able to read my mental emotional state like in the same second. Well, I'm interested in how you see it, because when I do it, I'm able, the screen that I have is not the naked eye where you just see someone's physical body. It turns into a computer screen where I see auras, I see images, and it's just a matter of, as you talk about your spirit, I talk to my teachers, being the three pure ones, Latsu, and they give me the information instantaneously. I need this, I need this, I need. It's kind of like hitting buttons, and the information just comes in. I would like to, and so it's very vivid. And when I see a spirit, it's very vivid. It's like tangible, as if I look at you, and I get a clear audio that's quite clear, as opposed to, and these are developmental skills, ladies and gentlemen, in the audience. Anyone can acquire these skills. It depends on how you perceive your reality. Your sensory perception is only limited by your imagination. And once you get started on that, you can start pulling all these kind of things in and frame out how you want your communication with, as Jessenia said, spirit, universe, God, Tao, Buddha, Allah, however you want to perceive it. You start tuning into that higher frequency, it will give you the information how you want to receive it. I'd love to hear how you sort of like could delve into your own experience.
Well, I think that my first gift, it's hard to tell because I can't really remember my first gift. I feel like that's not really a thing. I feel like I had a couple of gifts that I was using in my younger years. And one of them was I could always see spirit and angels. And the other one was telepathy. So I could hear what people were thinking. And then the other one was I was always a natural healer. So for example, when I was little, I remember distinctly, like, my brother skinned his knee driving his bike, and I immediately felt all the pain in my leg, and I started crying. And I remember my brother was fine, but I wasn't. And my mom knew better than to think that I was just like seeking drama or seeking attention, and knew better, because she said, she admitted to me much later that she had always known I was gifted and that I was sensitive, but like she didn't tell me, I didn't know. So I just thought that everybody kind of did those things. So I would kind of absorb pain from people and then heal it in myself, and then they would never feel it. So he didn't react, I did, right? And so it's been like this natural journey through the experience where I was just kind of living in that reality, and I thought everybody did that. So I didn't train it. I didn't put any attention into it. I didn't try to even learn what it was. I just thought it was a part of the human experience. It was just something I thought everybody did. I had always had dream premonitions. My family is very psychic by nature. So they had always had visions, visuals, dream premonitions, psychic abilities. So that was also normal. So I was just thinking, like, cool, I have premonitions. So does the rest of my family. No big deal, right? Everybody does that.
Right.
And I remember, one of the things that kind of shook me was I started, my grandpa was dying, and he came into my house and he stood right in front of me and he said, "Tell the women I'm leaving. Tell my daughters I'm going, and to prepare." And I thought, can't be real. Called them all, said, "I think Grandpa's dying, and he told me to tell you, and I'm sorry." And they were like, no way. Got off the phone immediately. When they hung up, the doctor called, said, "Your dad just passed." So it was an instantaneous kind of like, that was different because that's something tangible in my physical life that shifted. And then I had all my aunts kind of be like, "What the fuck?" Like, what happened? Sorry.
No, I think it's beautiful.
I cuss a lot.
Yeah.
So it just kind of kept, I think that, I always say that not having awareness is like trying to water your plant by just like pouring water in the air, right? Like, I'm just going to throw it up in the universe and hope that it somehow like waters my flower. And that awareness is taking that hose and putting it on that plant. Like, you can drown the plant, or you can feed the plant faster and more efficiently, but you're wasting less water, right?
Yeah.
And so I had kind of been living in this distracted lack of awareness of the fact that gifts even were a thing, or that this was different, or that I was, doing something different, until I was maybe 26. And I went to a haunted house where, it was very haunted house, very active. And I'd got in and I learned, I didn't know anything about the death or the murders. And I had learned everything about the death and the murders. I had found evidence. I had seen things. I had saw sexual abuse. They told me about all this stuff. The tour guide confirmed it. Everybody else, was super amazed. And I was like, "What do you mean? Like, doesn't everybody do that?" And he was like, "How long have you been doing this? Even our best like psychics that come in here, didn't pick up that much information." And I was like, "Today?" And he's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "I've literally never done this before. I'm just hearing and seeing them and trying to communicate for them." And so we had uncovered all this stuff and saw this evidence, and I had left. I remember I couldn't sleep that night. Like, the little ghost children were touching me. It was very active. I felt very uncomfortable. In my house, I don't have intruders. In my house, I have boundaries. In my house, I know how to control that. Ghosts don't stand a chance. But I'm not in my house. I'm in their house. So I had no control over it. And I just sat in my car. I remember sitting in my car, like, waiting for everybody to wake up and being so mad and thinking, like, how could you sleep? And they said, "You're the only one having this experience. You're the only one seeing them." And I was like, "Oh, God damn it. Like, what does that even mean?" So I remember leaving that place thinking, like, I need answers. I need to learn more about like who I actually am, because I was just diving into the reality of like any of this. And, it didn't really start there. I think part of my block with my identity was a lot of my trauma. I had suffered a lot of trauma in my early childhood, and it was, really, I would say, some of the worst human experiences. There have been physical abuse, sexual abuse, mental, emotional abuse. My grandparents were sexual abusers. There was a pattern. And so when I came into my own, it was really about just understanding I was worthy of healing, that I was worthy of self-respect, that I was worthy of being present or even being alive. So I think I was consumed by that for so long that I didn't even realize I had anything going on until I had cleared that and healed that enough to finally be like, oh, there's more? Like, what is this? And then as I healed, my gifts got stronger and stronger and stronger, but I didn't know that. I just wanted to heal to be a better mother, to be a better person, to be a better partner, right? I just wanted to be a better human. But what I realized was the more I healed, the clearer I got, the more my gifts amplified. So then I, had that experience at 26 where it was so intense. I just couldn't avoid it anymore. So I started my journey of like seeking a teacher. And I remember looking and looking and looking and feeling super disappointed and going to all these classes with my mom and, trying to learn something new. And I would leave the class thinking like, I don't agree with it. It didn't make sense. And she was like, then what would make sense? And then I would explain what made more sense. And she said, that makes a lot of sense, but how come we don't, that's not anywhere. That's not in a book. I've never learned that. I've never heard that. She's like, where are you getting this? And I was like, I'm not sure, but I just need something that makes more sense. And then I kept looking and looking and looking, and spirit just finally came through and was like, you're not going to find it because you have to create it. You need to just listen to us. And so I was like, fine, I'll just listen to you. I'll just listen to whatever it is you have to teach me. And then I started this whole journey on just taking in information from source and not from people, right? And they did this thing, which I still to this day, it's almost like humiliating to admit, but they forced me to be, it was like strategic ignorance that I was not allowed to study under a teacher or to read spiritual books, that it had been not only like taken from my childhood, but it was almost like banned from my childhood. My parents and my grandparents and their belief system were very paranoid of anything spiritual, anything that wasn't in the Bible, anything that wasn't grounded in like their belief system. So not only was I not allowed, it had been like taken from my whole life. And I had no information about meditation, about connection, about the soul, about energy centers, about actual gifts, and I had to learn all that through spirit first. And after I wrote my book, this is the book I wrote with that. After I finished the book, they said, okay, great. Now you can go learn about stuff and people and things. And I remember being so excited. I've been collecting books the whole time because I was like so excited to dive deeper. And, someone would hear a video I created and they'd be like, you're so much like this person. I feel like that would be a good thing. And I'd be like, oh, well, I'll just buy the book and save it for later. And then I started reading them and I was like, I feel like I already know that. I already have that. I already got that. I already understand that. So I get why they did it though, because I think the human mind is just so easy to mix belief systems. Our brain doesn't understand the difference. They're going to take what we've experienced, they're going to take what we're hearing, and they're going to collaborate it, and they're going to fill in the blanks and it's a really easy thing to do. So I get why they did it. And it was and I had no confidence. So of course it's really important when I have no confidence to make sure that I have everything down and ready before I start taking in information on the outside and then comparing the two and be like, wow, that's great. That's amazing. Like, that's exactly what I found, So for me, I am a very naturally skeptical person. And I laugh about this because I find that a lot of skeptical people are actually very, very gifted. And the reason why they're skeptical is because they're so tired of limited information or misinformation or like people like pulling in the dark for messages. They're not going to be excited about, I think their name starts with J, because they can already see, hear, and feel more. So it's not enough for them. They want something to punch them in the face and blow their mind, right? And I'm so happy that those are the types of people I'm working with now. I've taken a lot of steps to get where I am, and it's been a process of evolution, and it's been a really dramatic journey of healing and growth. But at my current state where I am, it's fascinating. Like I love that people are so excited to go deep. I love that they're so powerful, that they're very self-aware, that they're excited for the depth, they're excited for the evolution, they're excited for the shift. I had like a session the other day and, 4 minutes in, they were like, soul, done working with you for a year. We're going to do this. And it was such a beautiful in my own healing journey, it was so beautiful to realize like I was at a place where I was feeling appreciated and where there wasn't like a fear or anything. It was like, I remember you. I know what we're going to do together. We're going to accomplish awesome things. We're on this. We're doing this. So I've noticed that shift over time, and the evolution of that has been really beautiful. But yeah, my journey was, I would say, very human in a lot of ways, because I dove deep into the human experience with the trauma and the pain and the repeated patterns. And I asked spirit about that. I remember when I was about 5 years old, I was actually suicidal and I was ready to leave. And I thought, I'm just done. I don't need to be here. It's a really cruel place. It's violent. It's mean. Life is difficult. And they said, you're going to help people heal through these things. And I thought, if I get to help someone, maybe I'll stay. Maybe that makes sense. Maybe I'll wait. And now I realize, when I'm dealing with past life trauma, you need to understand trauma in this life. You need to understand the trauma repair process. You need to be able to dive deep in that emotion and in the depths of this human emotion to help people out. And to me, it's like they said the depth of your ability to feel is the depth of your ability to heal. And so having those really tremendous, profound experiences allow me to go in and help people heal and correct and repair that in themselves in whatever level, right? Interdimensionally, past life, this life, shadow work, whatever it is we got to do, we're going to find a solution. We're going to get out of it together. And they also taught me, like, no one wants to hear how to heal sexual trauma from someone who's never endured sexual trauma. And I realized, I was like, that's also very true. I would be very upset if somebody was standing out there being like, this is how you heal sexual wounds, and be like, I've never experienced sexual trauma. So I'm just saying it based on what I've been taught or what I think or what I believe, not knowing how it feels, not knowing how these particular experiences really define our limiting beliefs and how those limiting beliefs continue to cause pain in us, right? So I get the story now. It all makes sense. And I think I'm in a really beautiful place in my life recently where I've just been able to give thanks for this story and be so proud of myself and what I've overcome and what I've healed and what I've accomplished and what I've tapped into and now been able to help other people with, and not feel weighed down by any of that at all, and just be really thankful and be in a lot of gratitude for it.
It's beautiful to hear this. I mean, I could literally just sit back here and just keep talking. If I didn't have a day, you didn't have a day. I'm in. I'm sold 100%, because it's like the old expression, like attracts like. Understanding this, when I first started channeling 30 years ago, consciously, that is, and I brought in Lao Tzu into my field and was transmuting his information directly. That's it. My goal is to show people how to get direct source information.
Mhm.
Forget about what someone else says. It's about your information instantly, and you'll get it. And so when it comes to like Taoist practices, I get a book or a training system or a ritual, and that's handed down from generation to generation. And then elaboration on it is directly sourcing one of my teachers. Okay, so there are a lot of things that are in this world right now. Primordial breathing, embryonic breathing. These are classic respiration techniques from Taoism, and also microcosmic orbit, which is basically like a Taoist equivalent to, hey, let's wake up your Kundalini. That type of stuff is broken up into a very watered down version of how to really evoke the response, the energetic, the spiritual response that you want to start from the physical, open up the mental, emotional, the energetic awakens, and then the spirit goes, pop, we got you. You're out there, you're present, you're now really operating. That's where you need to be at that level. That's where you're going to have a real, true realization of this, what this reality is in all ways, shapes, and forms. And so the information, when I hear you say that, it's so beautiful, because that's how I get my information. It's truth. It's pure source information. I don't limit it to, I can sit down and have conversations with I've got hundreds of teachers, and I'll get direct information. It's like I'm not playing around. I put out information that there isn't a single person on the face of the earth within Taoism. And people are like, how do you even know this stuff? Because I get it directly. I got a teacher who couldn't handle it. I found ancient tools that I used within rituals in past lives that a guy had held in his antique shop in San Francisco, in Chinatown, since the 1960s when he came over from China, and he held them in the back of his door. And I walked in there with the guidance of Lao Tzu. You're going to go to Chinatown, you're going to go to this particular antique store, and you're going to pick up your command blocks that you used in a past life. I walked in there, and this guy's like, how do you even know I have these things? Oh, you've been holding on to these for me. Thank you, my friend. I really appreciate that. And like, he was like, I didn't know what to do with them. I brought them over here from China. I had no idea. I was just going to keep them in here. Eventually, I was going to sell them. More to the point, how in Tao's name, and I'm editing it, did you know that they were present? Because that's what information is all about. That's what happens. And so you feel very knowing, and you are very, very at whole with everything when you are able to just literally go, well, what do we need to do with this? And you have one of your spirit as my teacher, or however we want to define it, can instantly give you that information. There is a level of knowing and a fearlessness and a selflessness that comes with that connection that is second to none. You cannot replicate anything. I've never experienced anything like it. So when people talk about, DMT, ayahuasca, all this kind of stuff, I'm like, I think that's really cool that this is an entry point for you. Now I'm going to show you a healing that you'll do by yourself that will trump that crap on that, make your wildest LSD experience look like nothing right now with your own physical body. And they're like freaking the hell out. And when they go through it, they're like, how? I had no idea that I could do this. It's all about being awakening your realization, right? Awakening what is already within you. And as I would concur and repeat what you said earlier, it's like we're all here to do that. And like that just comes out and people just freak out. I mean, my channeling teacher passed away soon after because he had a broken heart. I did one session with him. He'd been doing it 50 years, and I surpassed his awakening. He was like, he's freaking me out. Like when you pulled in Lao Tzu, you blew out the whole room. Everyone in the room was like, I want whatever he's having. Why is he breaking chairs? Why is he doing all these weird things? Like, because there was so much energy coming through me. And people are like, you need to control that. You're having this fit. I'm not controlling anything. And to this day, whenever I teach someone, it's like, you don't need to control anything. It will materialize and transmute and transcend through you however it needs to be. You don't need to be stoic and still and all testosterone and controlling that you need to make sure. I haven't received what I received from leaning on yang. These are all yin gifts. This is the yin eyes, the deep understanding of intuition that comes with my access point, because I'm able to accept and allow all things. I'm not going, that sounds a little too much. I don't want to take any information from Kuan Yin today because she's a female, and that doesn't really, well, is she, or is she a male? Is she a female? Whatever she is or he is, why are you limiting yourself? And a lot of people within this sort of space are in a hierarchy. And that's where you lose me within Taoism, because they get into the martial stuff. I can teach people martial form all day long, but that's not what excites me. It doesn't excite me to perform a 1-inch punch. What excites me is the eternal alchemy that you generate projecting your spirit body, and you've already completed a movement against your opponent before it's even happened. And that comes from spirit projection. And I see that we're kind of a little different in the sense that there's a process within Taoism. It's called soul retrieval. I tend to sort of skip that. And I mean, I think I'm gonna have a lot of people come to you for that, because I tend to like roll over it, and I'm like, listen,
that's can sit here. That's my favorite part.
I know, and that's your favorite part. But I kind of like go, let's get to this. And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, listen, we can sit here all day long and we can go over why grandma didn't give you 2 Oreo cookies when you were 4, or we can get down to business. And let's get down to business, because you could torch it as quickly as you realize it. So it doesn't have to be something you sit in. And that's where, I mean, the depth of healing that you give someone is where they need to be. And that's where you and I are in line with that. And so it's not that I'm like operating with my elbows instead of you're operating with a scalpel. It's just that I can see that there's so much more for this person to realize instantaneously. And when I come across people that need the deepness that you go to, they're going straight to you. There's no question.
That's
But
beauty. That's the masculine versus the feminine, right? The feminine heals the individual, the emotional body, the connection to self, and the masculine creates the space to allow power to come through. So it's more like the container, the place, the abilities, the confidence, right? And I think that's beautiful that we all have the ability to move in and out of them. Like you said, you can do it. It's just that it's nice to know your skill set. There's definitely things I do that I enjoy more of. And I do understand that one of my strengths is that deep emotional repair, because that's just something I'm good at, right? And it's okay to just be good at stuff. My past life experience has actually been, I've been a lot of psychologists, I've been a lot of therapists, I've been a lot of the mind, right? Understanding the mind and the emotional body and the way that the surfaces in our patterns, belief systems, behaviors, and all of that. So you're taking your past life mastery and really creating or implementing that here, and I'm doing the same with a lot of mine. It's just very different and it's beautiful. And this is where I don't get where there's like competition in the spirit world. I'm like, spirit is endless. You could have 300 psychics and all of them are so different. They're functioning in their soul level spiritual, in their soul level themes, and the things they've mastered on earth, and the things that they have learned to do. I've had psychics that are made to reprogram the mind. I've had psychics that are made to visit deep places or understand shadow work. I've had psychics who are really specific to hauntings and haunting removals, and or psychics that are really specific to the auric body. And seeing everybody's gift so powerfully and aligned to their skill set has really brought me into my almost like appreciation for letting my gift be whatever my gift wants to be, right? Mm-hmm. Definitely not feeling like I have to fit any specific mold or belief system around it. I just like doing the things that I like doing, and I let it be that way.
Right. And I mean, and that's it. I mean, it's not that I just, when I see someone staying in their humanness, it's like we could be here forever. Yeah. And that's maybe my personality. I get a little personality, then I step back into just pure source. But it's like, we can beat the drum here all day long. We can go on about how daddy hurt me and all that kind of stuff. Let's get down to it. And that's not a dismissal, but I also understand that everything's energy, frequency, vibration. And what I need to also realize, and I do, is that people need to have that nurturing, maternal yin essence that you are mastering and acquiring and dipping deep into. And that's necessary also. So, and that all what's happening right now is we're just coming to this incredible convergence and merging, you and I, that now when the Tao brings more people aligned with that sort of thing, that goes straight, I just take them straight to you. I've healings for me is interesting. From the second I started, I can heal physical flesh like this. So it's like, I started off with, oh, hang on a second. A friend of mine rolled their ankle, and they were like, oh my goodness. It's like, we're on rotary phones talking. All right, I guess, I'm not going to see you this weekend. We'll catch up. Yeah, my ankle's busted. And I'm like, hang on a second. I've tried this thing. I've looked at this. It's literally a chart. It says, do this, this, this for a distance healing. I'm like, let me check it out. And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, it says here. And that's something that I always tell people. When you take things at face value, childlike in your nature, and you can start realizing how you access this tuning fork as enveloping it as a completely 100% conscious, so that you can create a brainwave that makes you pliable and creative and instantly affect change, you go, okay, face value, what is it? And it says, well, if I do this, this, and this will happen. And they're like, okay. I said, heal, 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 heal. And next minute, the words out of her mouth was, and I don't really care, what the fuck did you just do? I don't know. I just read the instructions and I said, here. She goes, my whole fucking ankle has shrunk back to normal and I'm standing on it right now on the phone. And I'm like, get out of here. And she's like, I don't know what kind of weird shit that you're into, but this is crazy. And I'm like, well, it's on a face value. It's understanding that it's that simplistic. When you create something that's in a line with this frequency, it's instant. When you accept it, when you realize that's what it really is. And now, of course, I've seen everything from, people will come to me and they're like, I got diagnosed with cancer from Stanford University. I'm like, oh, really? Well, I'm telling you don't have it. They're like, excuse me? And they go back the next week, and next minute they're going, I'm sorry, we mixed up your blood work, and that was the wrong result. And they're like, I spent 2 weeks fearing near death, and you're telling me you got the wrong blood work, and I had to go to my spiritual guy to tell me that you are full of shit. They were like livid, because this is the information
That's a beautiful lesson. I
right.
think everybody would live life better if they acted like they were dying in 2 weeks. I bet that was a good lesson. I bet that was a very healing journey for them, to be faced with the idea of mortality and have to face everything that they have been repressing or pushing. I bet that was part of it.
Well, sure. I mean, and that's where I would send them off to you to go, hey, look, you need a little more kid glove, love, and care here. Jessenia is going to take care of you. I've done my part. So, and it really, and I mean, that's really what it comes down to, because I mean, the amount of things that I see on a daily basis. So instantaneously accessing a 5D reality, as we would put it, to give someone a comprehension of consciousness, is just making everything pliable, being void of time and space, and instantly accessing a level of consciousness that affects change in a 3D reality. Now, that is what we're speaking of. That is what you do like this. You do it. You just bring it. And this is what happens. When we bring it, we are the catalyst and conduit of these frequencies. And wherever we move, things open up. They just do. And so physical stuff for me is very easy. Anything that comes up is a quick heal. And when you attune someone to it, it happens real fast. And it's like, as it should be, because it's instant. It's not something that you want to sit around and go, I gotta meditate on this thing, and I'm working real hard, and eventually I'll get there. No, you'll watch that physical flesh. And what I observe is you watch the flesh wiggle in front of you, and it starts to just transform and shift right back. It's like the same thing when you're bending spoons or changing something. You mend with everything as one. Nothing has title, and you just dip into it, and then it's all one. And then all of a sudden you're just like, bend, twist, move, heal. And you're not going, excuse me, universe, can you heal, please? Because you are the universe. Has anyone got the message? This is when you are pure source information, you are it. You're not asking yourself to do something that you already have access to. Does that make sense?
Oh, I tell people that all the time, that our job, I think that the most limiting thing humans were taught to do was pray. Because we are not asking anyone to do anything for us. That immediately says we're incapable. And if you keep the process of I am incapable to make change, to give myself the thing that I want, to manifest the thing that I want, to have the life I want, and you're waiting for someone to give that to you, you're going to find you never get it. And the whole purpose of this human experience is to create, is to be the manifester, is to be the master of our domain, and to see how far we can take that when it comes to our own creation. So instead, I say, we don't pray, we get advice, right? We ask, what is in my highest good? What do I need to do now? What is my assignment today? And therefore, we never stop growing. We never stop creating. We never stop manifesting. Everything just continues growing and growing and growing all around us. And I think that's a very limiting belief, to play in the idea of limitation, right? To play in the idea that someone has to gift us change or healing or love or friendship or a better job, right? That we can't just create that reality in our own experience, or that we act victim to it. But absolutely, Spirit tells me all the time, my favorite thing, and I remind myself of this all the time, that the universe is limitless, that the only limit is our belief system, right? And that we have this rejection to energy or abundance or love or connection or friendship because of that trauma pattern, because of that belief system we've carried, because of our experience, right? That it's taken from my ability to believe I'm lovable, believe I'm worthy, believe I can receive. And the second we clear that or break through that, we tap back into that limitless, powerful energy that gives us anything and everything. And I just, you know what's funny? You keep saying the thing about healing, and I just recently realized that I've been healing stuff in myself instantly my whole life. And I didn't realize that other people couldn't. I just came to that realization. I think it was like 6 months ago. I was having a headache. I sat with it and I was like, gone. And then I was just moving on in my life. And somebody asked me, they're like, didn't you have a headache? Don't you need a pill or don't you need? And I was like, no, I've always just removed it or just heal it. And, I was like, doesn't everybody do that? And they were like, what does that look like for you? And I was like, well, when you have aches and pains, you can bring attention to it and clear it. You can alchemize it. You can remove it from your body. And they were like, how? And I was like, wait a minute, you don't do that? People don't do that? Like I've been doing it as long as I can remember.
Yeah. I mean,
just,
no, go ahead. No, I mean, it's profound.
Yeah, I just didn't realize how, and I think more people need to be aware of that. Like I've never really been one for like medicine or anything, but I've never needed it. I've just never, like, it's weird. I never had surgery. I've never broken a bone. I've never like had any of those experiences. So for me, I feel like part of my learning has been like stepping outside of myself long enough to realize like, oh, that's different. Oh, cool. I just keep teaching that.
Well, you see how I see our meeting, our newfound friendship is you're expanding. I'm kind of like an interesting the way I realize things is I just adopt them. So if I'm exposed to it, I already possess that energy, and it just becomes another part of my repertoire. So if I move into another space or I'm exposed to something, it's kind of like from a neurological perspective, we can speak on this right down to neuroplasticity. But people tend to like want to have an understanding. So when I do a group healing, I've had up to 1,000 people at one time. They're like, well, how does that even work? Like, honestly, I want to understand it. Well, let's look at it from a neurological perspective. We're taking all these different people with all different types of ailments, and you're just coming in, you're blasting the juice, and they run out of there going, oh my goodness, this is healed, this is healed, this is healed. I can't believe it. Whoa. Well, what happens is from a neurological perspective, I'm replicating a frequency, an energy frequency vibration from this vehicle. If you want to just claim it as that on a consciousness level, you and I know this is all spirit. This is way higher. But let's just get people to wrap their mind around how is it? Because I get a lot of people I'll heal that are skeptics, and they'll go 6 months out of their way to destroy themselves after they get the healing because they can't believe it. It goes against all things. Like if they have a torn rotator cuff or whatever, they will literally and they'll tell me, I spent 6 months. I had a torn rotator cuff. You healed it, but now I had to destroy it and go and get a surgery on it because you freaked me out. Because all you did was sit down and you talked to me for 30 seconds, and I went from not being able to move my arm to doing this in 20 seconds. I have a problem with that.
That's right? The psychological piece. That's exactly why we go into the belief system, because if you don't correct someone's belief system, they will keep repeating it even after you're gone, right?
See, and I mean,
so that's exactly what I do, and I tell people that.
Yeah, and I mean that's the beautiful part that, for me, people are like, well, I get calls from clients and a congregation all day long. Oh, what about this? What about this? What about this? And I'll go, well, the answer is this, 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 and this. And they're like, but do you think? I'm like, I'm not thinking. This is not my information. I'm not attached to it. It's not. I don't have any emotional outcome that I need. You wanted an answer. I gave you the answer. Here it is. Take from it what you want. If it aligns with what you want right now, or if it doesn't, then you can do with that what you will. But that's where most healers get caught up in their what we call the ego, because they're like, I want validation that I'm doing this. I'm doing this. I'm like, all I do is come in and for decades, before I stopped really taking people one-on-one many years ago, I used to sit, I'd turn up to them because they'd want this sort of like Hollywood circumstance. So you turn up to their place, it's like, okay, lay down. And then I'd sit on the other side of the room and I'd literally fall asleep while the three pure ones did a healing on them. And they're like, oh my goodness, this is healed, that's healed. Okay, cool. Well done. Let's move right along, because you get attached with the outcome, like you have to be the next coming of Jesus. When people realize this stuff, then they get all caught up in, I don't want anyone else to know about this. This is really special, and I need to be special. And it's not about me dismissing about you being special, because you are special. Everyone is different. Everyone is unique. Everyone has their seat at the consciousness table. There's no question about that. But when you understand that you can just, when you let go and you accept and allow all things, which is the definition what Wu Wei is, the flow, effortless action, it just comes to you, and you can bear witness to the incredible miracles that take place all day long. And this is where people get so caught up in this stuff. It's like, let's get on with it. And so, it's kind of like, it's almost like we're a coupling of the Beauty and the Beast. I'm a little bit more elbows. You're the architect with the scalpel, and I just get right to it. And okay, there's a few things left over. Go and see Jessenia. That's it. Good. And well done. Need to move on. And that's sort of like where I get to with the healing, because I can show you that. And then you're now able to replicate it. So from a physical perspective, if I have 1,000 people in a room and we're on, it comes down to understanding the neurological plasticity and then the rippling effect that takes place as your magnetic field is aligning. Now, from a soul level, we're all just interconnected. There is no separation. But if you were to sort of replicate, well, how do I replicate that? Your neurology is already taking that information in. So your mirror neurons are giving out exactly what that you witness. So if you witness something, then you are now able to do it. If you experience something, you are now able to do it from a neurological level. Now, we understand that consciousness is all things, but some people might still think their thoughts of their mind are really theirs when they're not. But in essence, that's how it works. So you create a coherent, you see, this is a thing that sort of perplexes me, and my personality gets a little bit, they're like, oh, are you talking about Joe Dispenza? I'm like, oh my goodness, please stop. Please. When you're coherent, right? Oh, no. You need to stop just for a minute. Well before Joe and Heart Math and all these people 30 years ago came across, this realization you can couple the brain with the heart. People have been doing this for thousands of years, this synchronicity. And so I appreciate the fact that everyone's able to come together and recognize that there's a coherent synchronizing factor. As you align your physiology, you get an outcome. So from the truth teller, I like to call people, which is the commanding center, you send a message from the truth teller through your parasympathetic up to your brain. It then replicates that, sinks it down into your gut. Then you get a gut feeling. Wow. Okay, now we've got that out of the way, and you feel really good that you understand how these mechanisms work. This makes everyone feel better. Now let's get deeper into an understanding of consciousness, because this is where people are like, I need to know, how does this work? How are we going to make this? And I'm like, okay, let me get the science part out of the way so you can wrap your mind around it and validate this stuff and make you feel better. And then let's show you a profound healing that blows your mind. And then you go, well, it's just simple. It's the mirror neurons. Absolutely. Whatever you want to call it, because the second you accept it as your own, it's now realized for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, it's a wild, multidimensional experience. It has a lot of highs and a lot of lows. There's a lot of pieces to it, but generally speaking, it's all the same story. People get way too in their heads and they restrict information. Even, I've had a similar experience just channeling information, and Spirit said the second, that when you channel, you are full channel. You cannot stop to try to understand it because you're restricting the hose. You're cutting it off. And it's because I'm taking a piece and I'm trying to find a place to ground it. And I'm taking a little piece and I'm trying to find a place to ground it. And so they said, just be the open channel first. If you really want to understand it after you're done channeling. And so I changed. I love information. I love science. I love the grounded kind of pieces of it. And part of my work is creating evidence around what I've been doing and the healing that's happened and all the other side effects that are happening. So I really love that. And I'm really for it. But you can't do it at the same time. Those are two different versions of receiving information. You have to be the channel first and you have to ground it after. So I've definitely had to learn that.
No, amen. I mean, and that's the thing. It's like you want someone who's in their head and they have to validate the experience. And that's why I can give you spiritual, right. I can give someone spiritual, mental, emotional, physical understanding of all these mechanisms, right down to the biggest skeptics of all, which are illusionists, mentalists, magicians that use levels of consciousness to obtain their realization when they're done. A lot of them just attribute it to cold reading and their ability to just, observe someone's facial expressions, micro expressions, or moreover, just the physiology to, an ancient tool, the ancient Taoist tool like face reading. And that's how they apply their manipulation or their illusion. I mean, and then they dismiss it all to it's hypnosis. Okay, well, anyone that can get into a trance that quickly is an all-powerful individual. I don't care who you are. You need to realize you are not someone to manipulation. You're someone that can access a consciousness very quickly. Let's not dismiss it, because the dirty word that people get into is this hypnosis thing. And then there's hypnotists everywhere and all this kind of stuff. And then they become very limited in how they perceive their reality. And then they roll out all this stuff. And it's like, it's just a level of consciousness that you're obtaining, guys. And when people understand that, oh, okay, so I'm not some idiot that can really be controlled by someone else. No, you're accessing an entry point. Now, what you do with it is another thing altogether. When someone puts you in a state, it's like layering suggestibility. The second you're emotional, you're suggestible. I always remind people of that. The gateway to your unconscious is your emotional status. If you want to change someone's instant, like, pre-programming, and people go, well, it's conscious, it's unconscious, it's subconscious, you can instantly walk right in there with their eyes open and be using metaphors, linguistics, numbers, energy, information, letters. All that is imprinted deep within your DNA, let alone what you could do in your unconscious. It's just a level of it. And so what people tend to do is they lean on all these things. Now, channeling, what you and I are really enjoy and love, and that's my first thing, that is pure source information. And there's a vast difference of that. And when people talk about, I'm a psychic, I'm a medium, I'm a channel, you can vary that stuff. For me, I just call myself a priest. I teach people all this stuff. But in reality, it's just a level up of your consciousness dial. The higher you hit that dial, the more you allow, the more you accept, the more you realize you can obtain all these sensory perceptions at will. And it goes from 5 to 27 to 36 to 1,000 different sensory perceptions that give you information. And it's like the validation, the confirmation for you and I is when we realize it in this 3D reality. And you've done it enough times. And even though you've stated, oh, I'm still a little skeptical, you've validated your spirit, as you've coined it, has validated with you within this 3D reality enough mental, emotional, physical healings that you're like, okay, I believe you. I believe. Yeah. I'm in. I'm going to walk through fire now. You got me.
It's so funny. I still feel like I have. And I say this all the time, like, I don't really read myself. I know what I need when I need it. Spirit has always stepped in and told me what to do and guided me and told me what I need and helped me face myself and heal myself and do all these things. But it's so funny because even still to this day, I'll like read someone and say something and then they're like, holy shit. And I'm just like, holy shit, cool. Like, I'm still amazed by it all. I don't think it stops feeling amazing. I don't think it stops feeling miraculous. And I love being amazed by the ability or the connection. And I just like, that's one of those things, like, it's never going to take my sparkle. It's never going to get old. I'm still completely fascinated by the whole process. And I'm excited to see it change and grow. And I don't think I ever want to become like familiar or comfortable with like the magical nature, which is the beauty of like this healing process, the connection process, and I love that. I love to let it be this beautiful, magical kind of, experience that doesn't always need to make sense to that degree. Like, you know, that amazement point, that like, holy shit, how did I know that? Like, I don't know how to, all right, I'll figure it out, but let's just enjoy this for a moment. It's still pretty magical.
Well, you see, and that's it. I love that. I love that because it's like the old song, "First time I ever saw your face." That is truly how I approach every second of every minute of every hour. When I've been doing this for decades, it's still the first time I saw a healing, the first time I witnessed magic, the first time I witnessed a manifestation. It's like the first time I'm so excited. It's like I get absolute. It's like it's mind blowing to me. And I'm never ever left with, oh yeah, that's all right. No, it's like the first time in experience. We are in Harry Potter school right now, and this is unreal. This is awesome. And I get to live this. This is my reality. This is what I
Right.
experience every day. And that is that key. Now, whether people want to make it sappy, like, oh, it's the gratitude. You're getting the no, it's just immersed as, you know, the three pure ones of my family. The spirit world is my reality. This is how I am operating right now. And at any point, I can access that level of selflessness, that level of knowing, that level of consciousness is second to none. And once you obtain that and you realize that whether you close your eyes, you wake up, you didn't do enough exercise, you ate too many, Oreo cookies, you did whatever, doesn't change that connection because it gets stronger. And when people train in that and they realize it, it doesn't disappear. It's like at first, for many years, I was like, "Oh, I'm going to wake up and they're going to leave me. It's not going to be the same. I'm freaking out now. What do I need to do to please you? What is it?" And they're like, "Listen, this has nothing to do with a human being experience. This is not what we're talking about here. You're limiting yourself if you believe that we care about whether you're, having sex on Sunday, you have 5 kids, you eat chocolate ice cream, you smoke cigarettes, you drink a gallon of wine. We don't care about that. That's not how the universe works. You need to understand this. Now, there's a transmutation of that where you may burn your candle out, your constitution may end your story a little shorter within this reincarnation if you choose to put the foot on the accelerator. That's your choice how you use this vehicle, but that's not how they operate. That's not how they get that information, that realization, that healing takes place. And that's where people are like, well, what do you think? Should I become a vegan? Now, I eat plants because that's what I enjoy eating, and I feel the frequency at a high level. Now, if you want to eat meat, you can, and the old expression, turn water into wine, is not an expression. That's a reality. Your ability to transmute and transform whatever it is in front of you is instantaneous. So if you want to believe that eating meat all day long is nourishing and heals you, then that's your reality. That's just how it is. That's how you materialize with the person's. My grandfather was 115. He smoked 5 cigars a day and drank a bottle of whiskey every week. And, he died, but they realized he had cancer because he didn't care. He wasn't invested in that limited emotional content. He was enjoying his experience. And just so happens, that's where people are like, well, that's not what happens. Most of the time you will die. Well, if you say you will, then you will. You're a prophet of your self-fulfilling reality when you tell yourself this is how it's going to be. This is a limit. The first time I did a reading on someone and they said this person's going to die on this day, and I made the fatal error, never ever to be repeated. And I said, listen, I've been told that you're going to die in like 2 months. And no joke, they died to the second. And I was like, that's it. I asked my teachers, like, what's going on here? Can we change this? They're like, absolutely. So why did you have me go through that? Why was I experiencing like me handing this message to someone and then they embodied that, in my opinion, and then realized it in their reality? No, they didn't. I'm like, it certainly seemed that way. For what I could see, they died on the second to when I said they were going to die that you gave me the information of. And they're like, listen, you need to understand something. Everyone has their own purpose in their lifetime, in their experience in this realm. let it be, but understand this, that we give you these tools to generate and cultivate your constitution and cultivate your experience, that you can take this vehicle and extend decades of your lifetime, your longevity. And that's kind of like a foundational thing for Taoism, is more within Buddhism. Buddhism is kind of like life is like a pile of dog doo-doo with diamonds on it, and you just pull another diamond off looking for more dog doo-doo. Oh my goodness, life is miserable. It's got to be miserable. Whereas Taoists are, it's a pile of diamonds covered in doo-doo. Clear some more doo-doo. Wow, another diamond. This is awesome. And that's how you ripple the effects of the simplicity of like attracts like. But when you know that anything can happen at any time, and that snapshot that you and I receive from spirit can be altered instantaneously, that's something that we need to sort of come to. Now, that's my journey. That's my experience. I'm not going to speak on your experience, your journey, your realization, but I've realized that instantaneously, stopped it, and was able to change the trajectory of a lot of people's lives through understanding this and giving them insight into something that they can then expand on it. And then they literally dodge bullets. So they're not ending their life as it seemed from that face. It's kind of like almost like blood work. You go in and get blood work. What's it good for? That second. It doesn't tell you that you're going to you're sick and you're going to die. No, you're feeding this neuroses that I need to validate someone else telling me that I'm okay. And that blood work will help me with that, because now I put all my faith in someone with a white coat that says that if you don't do this, this, and this, you're going to be limited, or imminent death is materialized. And this is all within that system that we speak on. And then you and I are talking about this. Hey, get your pure source information right here. And if you call the bottom of the screen right now, 1-800, we'll give you a discount, $29.95, and you'll get pure source information right now. But in all jokes aside, that's the reality, in my opinion.
It is, and it is a common experience, definitely. I think that I myself was super shocked. I think so I didn't go into my work expecting to heal people. I didn't go into my work expecting anything. I didn't really know, because like I said, I was pulling in everything from my own spiritual guidance, and I had no expectations. I was just kind of going with the flow. And I remember clients, the way I first started working with people was for my own skepticism. I would get only their birth name and their location, and I would read from there. And I didn't want to know anything about them. I didn't even have a picture of them. And that helped me, because I would pull up all these things about, their past lives, their soul, their origin, their patterns, and all these things. We'd clear them, we'd heal them, repair them. And then suddenly I was getting, emails about like, you healed my depression, you healed my anxiety, you healed my narcolepsy. Like, I have no more pain in my leg. I have no more pain in my back. I have none of these. And I just was like, I was just as mind blown as they were. I didn't realize that it had any profoundness other than just understanding. But it's the same type of idea. And I explained this to somebody else asked me, they're like, why can't you just blow through the energy? And I said, maybe if that's your skill set and what you're here to bring people, that you can just amplify energy and clear energy. I said, but my ability is to go in and teach you where you're stuck, and then have you release it, right? By unlocking the brain so that it never comes back again. Not in this life, not in the next life, not in the next life, right? Which sometimes happens. We'll have, like we said, we're still unlocking past life stuff, right? And then the power of that is, like you said, the soul retrieval is reintegrating it, understanding it, downloading it again, making it a part of our conscious awareness in this life and this experience. So in that awareness, in that understanding, in that healing, we reintegrate and we allow this beautiful new conscious awareness to settle. So my experience with healing has been that it's almost like a layering of energy, and that when we clear that and understand that, I guess a couple of different things surface: the conscious awareness, the integration of the new life, and then the physical healing and however that manifests in the body. And there have been, like I said, the scrape with my brother, there have been moments where we have moments of like instant healing and repair, but I just don't feel like that's my work for the most part.
Sure. Yeah.
And I've definitely, like I said, I didn't even know I had it. Like, I'm just learning about that. So I'm just learning more about allowing the process to be instant. I've had this year, I think the last 4 months, I've had instant messages, instant connections, instant downloads, and instant manifestation. And I think I'm just starting to allow that to be a part of my process. And that's just different for me. It's been very different, shocking. Like, I'm just like, oh, that's coming tomorrow. No way, tomorrow, done. I'm like, holy shit. Like, that was cool, but it's new to me.
Yeah.
I've definitely, I didn't realize I was being patient. I didn't realize that, like,
Well, no, I get so excited when I hear you speak on this, because it really is like this. Like, for me, I can go into, high levels of telekinesis, burning things with your hands, with your mind, moving energy, bending spoons, all that kind of stuff. That's really cool. But I don't get drawn to that. They put me on a path and go, okay, I want you to read the Tao Te Ching for the next year. Okay, that's it. And everything materializes from that. I don't have to sit here and work on the lotus position and focus on incantations and get into certain sort of rituals. All things unravel just from the simplicity of that. So when sometimes I get people where they're literally, okay, read this verse. That's all you need to do. And they're like, it's kind of like the Karate Kid thing, where everyone, Daniel's son is like, I'm done with you, old man. This is ridiculous. You made me clean your house and sand your floors and do everything. I'd learned nothing from this. It's like, Daniel's son. I'm like, wax on, wax off. And they're like, holy moly. And this is what I do with a lot of people. And it comes back to what you were saying before. And this is how I that's how I learn from them, is they'll share with me. So if we're doing a healing, I witness it. People go, holy moly, you've called in a spirit and energy of a specific sun, planet, spirit. And they're like, I felt it before it even came into the room. And as you're saying it, it's freaking me out because I'm feeling it through the very core of my being. And it's like, that's the whole part of how you validate this. And for me, that's how I get validated. It's like, it's very limited, a little slice of it. But then the actual tuning fork is that physical body that gives you that validation. What's going through your so-called mind, which is really here, is just something that gives you a validation. When I do a past life reading, someone will lay down, and everything I speak on as their lives keep coming through, they see in their third eye, and it's like a movie. And they're like, wow, this is so cool, man. But I mean, that's just connecting with those energies. And so when you talk about that and you're like, oh my goodness, it's like, I didn't realize this was, it's like, that's the beautiful part, because I'll share things with people and they're like, oh man, nothing's going on. I'm like, okay, get out of your car. You think you're driving a Pinto. Get out of your Pinto. Yeah, I am. Yep. Mm-hmm. Open the hood. It's a Lamborghini engine under there. That's right. And it's happening right now. You have realized that you have been working and tinkering on this Lamborghini engine this whole time. And you were distracted by, oh, yeah, man, I got to read this Tao Te Ching or sit here and just, allow myself to receive or whatever it is. And all this stuff is materializing instantaneously. As you level up, just as you are, anyone that's associated with you and how you share your gifts are instantly obtaining a leveling up, because they're interconnected with you. As you acquire more skills, they acquire more skills. And it starts going to a level where people are like, holy moly. And it goes back to what you were saying, where I don't need to see someone's face. I couldn't care what their name is. People call me up and go, grandma's hurting. Boom. She's in hospital. They told her she's going to die. Okay, taken care of. Bang. Next day, it's like, oh my goodness, she came out of a coma. She's perfectly okay. Everything's great. I don't need to know. The universe already knows. When you are operating in that, you're not doing it where you give me a little bit more information about yourself. What's your name? What do you look like? How tall are you? And I mean, intuitively, your guides are telling you, your spirit is telling you less is more, because that's the truth. You do not, as truly operating in that state, it's irrelevant, because it happens instantaneously. It doesn't matter where it is, who it is, what it is. Whether you're on the other side of the world or you're right in front of us, the second you connect, it's all taken care of, because it's already aware of all this stuff. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and that's why it's so powerful. As you're even leveling up even more, going, the less is more. My spirit is teaching me that I don't even need to. You don't have to. You don't have to see their picture. You don't have to see. It all just happens.
I
And
started with that. I mean, I now allow myself, I think I started with that just, wanting to have as little information as possible as a form of skepticism. Now I just don't have any, and I don't really limit myself to that experience at all. Like I don't care. I enjoy now the physical connection. So when I first started, I was like, I really wanted to prove to myself that I had the ability. So I wanted to remove every noise from it and keep it as clear as possible. And for me, when I'm research, so I do what I call I do the Akashic records. So I pull up people's soul
yes.
records and
Okay,
their.
yes, please tell me more. Tell me more about this, because I want to understand, because it's a thing that a lot of people are getting into, and I kind of feel like they're resonating with the message, but now there's getting, unlike yourself, there are a lot of people like, yes, I use the Akashic records to get this information. I'm like, okay, show me.
So everyone has
And
access to their Akashic.
you are tuning in. I can see you are tuning into that. But a lot of people are, the old expression, fake it till you make it. That's where a lot of people, where you were not finding your answers because you ended up listening to your spirit, because there isn't anyone out there. I have probably a dozen people right now that I'm working with that could never find anyone to give them an answer to the stuff they're experiencing. And what happens was they'd come to a yogi, a spiritual advisor, a meditator, whatever, and they'd explain what they're experiencing. And then the haterade came out. And I'm like, this is an evoking of what happens. It's like, because these people are working day in, day in and night, looking to acquire this ascension, and they're working their butts off in the yogi position, doing this stuff. And then someone comes to them and goes, listen, I'm having all these incredible experiences. What's going on? And it really upsets them. And so this personality of the leader, the mystic, the healer, whatever you call it, gets all twisted. And then they go, okay, I can tell you it's this, and this. And of course, it's all just gobbledygook. They're not getting any information. And then they get disappointed, like yourself. You couldn't find anyone, and you listened to your spirit, and that was the ultimate source of information. But when you mention it, I get really excited, because I know you're truly tapping into that information. I want to hear about it, but I hear it a lot these days, and it's more like people listening to you going, yep, I get there. And then they can't follow through on the idea of it. It's just an idea for them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I love questions, and I think that questions are a really great way to see somebody's kind of understanding of it. And it is really complex. I think I could talk about just the Akashic realm for literally weeks, because there's life planning centers, there's buildings, there's rooms, there's storage centers, and it isn't a book. It's an interdimensional kind of fifth dimensional library or space that doesn't have books. I think our mind creates the illusion of books. And the records themselves are highly protected and kept from any contact. They have guides of Akasha that manage that, which are more like our justices of peace here, on earth, that they have to earn that respect, and that's their only job. And you have to consider that these are records of all of creation. So they're highly protected because they're made to protect and defend the information in them. And they have been targeted many times in the past. So the realm itself is open to everybody. Everybody goes to the realm to plan their lives and to come in and to do the reincarnation process. It's a hub. It's a school. It's where our ascended masters reside. It's a place where we go to get all this beautiful information. It's a place we also go to visit our loved ones. So the realm itself is open to everyone, and everyone has access to their own records, which I think is important because you carry them in your subconscious energy, right? Your soul knows. So a lot of us pull in information from someone's soul or their higher self, which is a perfectly great way to do it. But past life clearing does have a lot of side effects if we do it inappropriately, just like, trying to repair trauma inappropriately will create more trauma. It's a delicate process. So I tap into records to find someone's location, kind of like where they're at. So I say it's a process of reintroducing you to you. You know, where were you born? What are your skill sets? What are your themes? What are your past lives? What have you mastered? What are your energy centers? What are you here to kind of learn and do and teach others? What do those gifts look like? Let's talk about those gifts. So it's really introducing the brain to the soul in a lot of ways. Like, let's put words on it. Let's put definitions on it so that you know your power and you step, you know, powerfully into the next phase of your life. And that is, you know, I guess better. It's just, everybody's going to be attracted to the teacher that speaks to their wound or their trauma or their insecurity by nature, right? And if someone needs to know themselves better, or their story or their information to feel confident enough to put a foot forward, then that's kind of just where they're at. And I definitely see the power in definitely people who just want to like tap in and unlock and understand the depth of their power. And that would, you know, that's perfect for your world. Like, you're just about results immediately, right? It's people ready to just like, you know, move stuff and work with that and be in alignment with that. So I use the records as a way of introducing people to themselves. And that means pulling up any themes that they have, any past lives and things that make sense to this healing, and having them work through that and then reintegrate that and then acknowledge that. And I love that it's a process that shifts not just our physical, but our soul. Because the more we heal, the more we integrate, the more we evolve through, the more we are aware of, the less we bring into the next incarnation, the next life, and the next experience. And the evolution is just so powerful. But the idea is getting people into their power. And I always tell people, like, if you're still coming to me after a year, you know, that I failed you, because I need you to be doing this yourself. And that's the point of that we're learning for you to activate your own ability and your own knowing and your own connection. And that's just, you know, when I tap into that stuff, I'm seeing someone's soul history and whatever that means, or whatever we're surfacing. But my guides do go, and we go in with themes, right? So like, if I'm seeing someone's relationship with someone else, we're pulling up the theme of that agreement, because it's just too much information. So we have to theme it to get it down to a, you know, half hour or hour time frame, and then speak about the things we're finding there. But I mean, generally speaking, that's just kind of, I guess that's the favorite part of my gift. That's most of what I do. I do have other stuff I don't really love doing. I say mediumship is my least favorite gift, because I don't want to deal with death all the time. Like, that's the one I don't like. I'm just like, the emotional, the guilt, the I'm sorry about this and that, like the pain that comes through being that bridge. But it's also the one that I have the most respect for, because like, I'll donate time to mothers who lost children, because I feel like this is an ability I have to give back to, and that would be the greatest wound to carry. And that if I could bring closure to that, I have a responsibility to. So it's my least favorite gift, but it's also the one that I think, you know, is the most respected in a lot of ways, because you have to be able to help people find closure and release their own guilt or their own pain, or the illusion of loss, really is what it comes down to, right? That they're still there, there's still love there, they're still present in your life, but letting go of the guilt you are carrying. I do have to go. I feel so bad. I feel like
no, not at all. I mean, I think we went way over. I think both of us got real excited, but we need to do this again. We'll have a part 2. I'm super grateful that the Tao has brought you into my life, and that, you know, it's just incredible to be able to share with other people that are experiencing something like what I'm experiencing. I'm not going to say it's the same, because it isn't. You have your own experience, and it's all framed out that way. The ultimate goal for both of us is for people to realize their consciousness, their higher frequency, and the true source of all things. And Jessenia's spirit, for me, it's Tao, and it's all the same. It's all the same in that sense. It's not a dismissal, because I always remind people there's infinite amount of spirits, energies, and vibration and frequency. That's infinite. And so when people play with that type of stuff, on a side note at the end, when you're talking about energies, it's a construct of your reality. So, you know, I've in the past, I've had students that want to be the all-powerful exorcists, and then they just bring these energies in all day long. And every time they come back to class, they've got like 200 entities that are like feeding from their very source energy. So I have to clear that out. And then I have to get them to understand that this is a Hollywood sort of like thing. I can literally spend a decade and never see a lower vibrational energy that would come in the form of what someone has realized as what they identify as a demon, horror, hell, Satan, whatever it is. It's all a construct of their reality. So they draw that into their field. And so I can go 10 years without experiencing that, going into situations where those energies don't find me. In San Francisco was a great thing because that used to be a graveyard and it was exhumed. And so then they put the city on top of it. So I spent many years going in and out of that city, helping people all up and down the peninsula from Silicon Valley, Fortune 500 companies, where the CEOs are like hiring me to sit there and literally read the energy of potential employees. And so they're getting like an employee that's going to be the CFO. And I'm like, okay, this is fantastic. They're sitting there looking at me like, why is this guy in the room? And I'm like, okay, I just want to ask you one question. Just ask a few questions, and then that's all. And they're like, really? Why is he in the room? I'm like, okay, so you're going to be a CFO. Can we talk more about your conviction for fraud twice in a previous job? And they go, how did he know that? What's going on? It's just information. And they freak out. And this is sort of like, I stepped away from being and this is something that you understand, is being the puppet. I felt like I was getting into sort of like the monkey in a grinder situation where, wow, this guy does this incredible stuff. He can do healings. He can do readings. He can do all these things. And I fell into that as a personality. I need to help these people. They're paying me. I'm going to do it. And then I was like, no, I want to step away from this. I need everyone to have access to this information. And that's why I created the scenario that I'm in right now, where I can be more giving on a much greater level rather than for the very elite few that have the resources to pay for my time. That's come and gone. Now it's about as much information as I can get out as quickly as possible so people can raise up, open their consciousness so they can be truly pure source for their own reality. That's how that's how I've been given the message to do what I do. And I'm just grateful that you're here in my life and you've been brought into my life and a newfound friend. And this is just the beginning. I look forward to spending more time with you in the future. And I want to thank you for coming on the podcast and giving people incredible insight, because this is the stuff that excites me. Every day excites me, but speaking with others that are accessing consciousness and being able to share it with the world is really what my driving force is.
Yes, it's always magical to meet other people doing magical things. And thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. And I just want to thank the audience for sharing their time with us today. And yeah, we kind of went, wow, we did well. You went over. I hope everything's cool, because this is magic. This is golden stuff right here. This is incredible material. People need to hear what we're sharing today. So again, thank you, Jessenia, for sharing your time with us. I want to thank the audience for sharing their time with us. And I am your humble servant and Sifu, Taoist Master Sun Quinn. And I'll see you on the next one, guys.